Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, June 26th, Sunday, June 27th, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys can join us tonight. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I'm super excited that you're here. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. It's been really hot for a lot of us. We've been going through this crazy-ass heat wave, but I hope you guys have been keeping cool and enjoying yourselves at least. If you're listening live right now, you're listening on Spreaker.com. You can also find us on KPNL, which you can find at kpnl-db.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, as well as Podcast Chaser. So tonight, I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight, we have the Paradox Paranormal Forum, and boy howdy, do we have a lot of topics to cover this evening. So tonight, we are joined by We Are Paradox Media's weekday host, Mr. Jason Davenport, who is the producer of Diecast in Racers, as well as, I said, doing a weekday show on We Are Paradox Media. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Hope you all having a good weekend.
And then we also have Miss Mia Savage, who is Four Corners Paranormal Investigations medium, as well as We Are Paradox Medium's regular on our show. You know, sometimes on her own with her mom, or for the most part here on the Paranormal Forum. Welcome, Mia. It's so awesome to have you.
Thank you. Good to see you, hear you guys, I guess.
And then we also have Mr. Robert White from Australia, who is a remote viewer, astral traveler, and psychic healer. Welcome, Robert.
Thanks for having me. And aliens didn't kill themselves.
And then we also have Mr. Jim Morris, who is our UFO guru, and he's got a UFO page. Jim, can you tell everybody where to find your UFO page?
Yeah, it's the usual URL, UFO case analysis, all lowercase, .uk, UFO case analysis.uk, and that's where you'll find my guff.
Very nice. Yeah, and it's like so detailed and in-depth, and you're totally on top of it. So I implore you for doing that because, man, what an undertaking. So as far as UFOs go, what do you guys think about this whole disclosure form?
Yeah. that says it all right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
The recovering of the uncovered, which was never covered in the first place.
Yeah, that's the one, Robert. You know, that they were looking at, but they were looking at, but they weren't really looking at it, but they were looking at it.
Because they don't know,
yeah,
but they do know. They've already made all these arrangements with them.
Yeah, 135 cases they looked at. The only one they arrived at a conclusion was one was a deflated balloon. The other 134 are still unknown. So with the 701 from Project Blue Book that are unknown, we've now got 845 unknowns. Yeah, and it's still unknown. And it's always going to stay that way. They're never going to tell you anything.
Yeah, and one thing that the UFO community that I noticed, because I was listening to another broadcast the other night, is they don't want to really discuss, and it's in the Washington Post article, I think March of 82 or 83. I used to have it. I have it somewhere. But there was a UFO group in the late 70s that took the CIA and I think the NSA, one of the two, to the court. And it went to the Supreme Court. And the three-letter agency said, oh, this has to be classified under national security. So the Supreme Court ruling was no information about UFOs will ever get out. Now, my question is, why don't these guys go after the Supreme Court ruling? That's what you're going to have to do. Forget going after Joe Blow has a connection, and this guy said that, and blah blah. That maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, tell me. But it would seem to me you would have to overturn that Supreme Court ruling to get any sort of disclosure going in the first place.
You'll never get it, Jason, because the group you're talking about is called Ground Saucer Watch. And they analysed photographs, and they analysed and investigated different reports. And they took them to court, took the CIA to court, and it went to the Supreme Court. And the judge never even looked at the documents to see whether they should be classified or unclassified. He didn't even bother. He just passed judgment on it and said they're highly classified, they're not going to be disclosed. And that cost that group a lot, the money they had and everything else. They're gone now. It's a great pity, because an awful lot of the photographs that they analysed with the technology at the time showed an awful lot of fake photographs that people took as being real. And an awful lot of cases they looked at that they considered to be bona fide, they're gone as well. So the whole thing is, they're never going to tell us the truth. That's the one thing they don't want you to know. Either they're extraterrestrials or interdimensionals or another life form that's evolved on the Earth along with us. They're never going to tell us, but you've known about this for 800 years or 900 years, and suddenly you've come out to tell us now. I mean, for 70 years, everybody's been waiting for disclosure, and you're not going to get anything. All they disclosed was, they're not going to tell you, and that's it. Never going to tell you.
Mm-mm. No, they're not going to admit to doing reverse engineering of UFOs that they have actually found. They're like, yes, there are things out there that we don't know what they are, but it's most likely somebody else that has a supreme, whatever intelligence beyond ours. And so these may be their things like, okay, so you're going to put yourself down in order to say UFOs don't exist. I don't know. There's just so many stories out there. There was the one on Netflix that you guys have been trying to get me to watch, and I finally watched it. I'm trying to remember what it's called. But this guy was totally a part of reverse engineering, and he actually took some stuff home with him, he said, that was supposedly human engineered, but I don't believe so. I think it was another of the reverse engineering sort of things. But Bob Lazar, Area 51 and flying saucers.
Yeah, an awful lot of people are skeptics. They ripped that guy to pieces. But if it wasn't for John Lear, we would never have heard about Area 51, because nobody knew it existed, on the internet until he made it public. And there's an awful lot more to what he said than will ever be admitted. And if he said he was involved in that, said he wasn't really qualified and his PhD was a dodgy one and so on and so on.
Yeah, they were denying all of that stuff. Yeah. Like, he didn't even go to college, he didn't even do this, he didn't work here. And it wasn't Area 51, it was near Area 51. I'm trying to think of what this place is called, but I cannot remember.
I think he was in Los Alamos, wasn't he? Bob Lazar?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the name of the compound or whatnot that he was working on. It's near Area 51, and S4? Everybody gets... S4, yes. Everybody gets on the white bus, they go to work, and then they get dropped back off at the same place. But yeah, S4 is what it was called.
Mae Brussel did her, I think it's her 1978 broadcast of, she covered Bill Casey's book, Did We Go to the Moon? I think in that report she gives on the air, she does talk about Area 51, not by name, but she mentions a place out there in the Nevada desert that this group of people bought for whatever military reason or whatever. But it's in that broadcast if people want to go look it up. So Lear wasn't the first one to talk about Area 51. I just kind of want to make that clear. I mean, he may have brought it out there to light, but they were talking about, like, Mae Brussel was talking about Bohemian Grove before Alex Jones was and all this stuff. So, but I digress. But just for reference, it's a really good program, But then I heard, if I remember right, that Bill Casey's credibility was shot, but I don't know much about it. But it was an interesting program nonetheless.
Yeah, well, she was ahead of her time in a lot of things. I mean, she had the ability to have a look and see what's actually going on and come out with the correct interpretation, Mae Brussel. And I was listening to one of her programs. She was actually confronted by the men in black, and they beat her up. They actually fractured her skull.
Yeah,
And
she
didn't broadcast for over a year, and then she
Yeah.
came on again. And shortly after that, she died very, very suddenly.
Well, what it was the September 29th, 1975 broadcast. She gets on, and this correlates with the movie Mae Brussel in Santa Cruz, where they interviewed the lady that was with her when it happened. Only the lady didn't go into details. She said that they were walking on the street, and these two men walked up, passed in front of her, and deliberately tripped her. And that was the end of it on the film. Mae Brussel on that broadcast states that they came up to her and they tripped her, and they proceeded to stomp and pound on her head. And I think they broke her jaw because she just mentioned she just got out of the hospital for 2 weeks, had jaw surgery. And then she did a report in late 1987 about this weapon that was spread on steering wheels to induce cancers. So a lot of people think because of that particular broadcast and a few key broadcasts that and because her father died, her father was the rabbi to the stars in Hollywood. Okay, imagine that. So she didn't have the protection of her father anymore. So lots of talk about that, but. She even states herself that, what happened to her daughter, Bonnie, and Barbara, the car accident in 1971. She states on air a lot of things that they've done. She went to an interview one night and she came out about midnight in a radio station. This man walked up to her and followed her to the car, and she said that he handed me a business card, but, still, he was there. People trying to get out of the house, people posing as cops, saying that her daughter was arrested for marijuana when in fact she was still in school. And that's right around the time. After that September broadcast, about a month later, Sandra Good sent her a death threat. And then she was dealing with the FBI. The FBI and the government was coming to her house, interviewing her. So there was a lot of things going on at that time, and she didn't come back on the air for 7 months. Like I think April of '76, she came back on KLRB out of Carmel. But I didn't mean to digress on that. But if we really want to talk about all this stuff from UFOs, I mean, she even covered Antarctica and Admiral Byrd, and like five programs on that, over 5 hours worth of stuff. So.
Well, and I can totally see like why she didn't get back on radio, because that's major, concussion. Pretty sure when you stomp somebody's head, you're trying to kill them. It's not just, to superficially wound them.
Yeah.
It's so hard to deal with normal everyday things when you have a concussion like that.
She said that when she stayed on Vancouver Island over there where our good friend Sandra and Jazzy live, that somebody put a rattlesnake on their campsite, and their friends who lived on Vancouver Island laughed at them and said, "Well, we have no rattlesnakes here." Another instance was they were up on Vancouver Island fishing or swimming with the kids at the lake, and these total strangers claimed to be in affiliation with KLRB in Carmel, California, and they were asking her all sorts of, like, they all do all sorts of stuff. And she's like, well, what are the odds these people, I'm on vacation in, Canada, taking, 6 weeks off, and they're, so these people actually followed her. In the Christmas broadcast of 1977, she talks about being chased through the streets of San Francisco all the way to the radio station where they took refuge. All the stuff that was going on, man.
I just saw this video of this guy who supposedly, and it could totally be fake, but he had a ton of followers and stuff. And supposedly he got on video and posted on TikTok and YouTube like a government operation with the body of a freaking alien washed up on the beach. And whether it is true or not, there was still government officials within the shot, and it got like millions and millions of views by people. And then he's taking these videos, and again, this could be totally staged, but I don't know, of him being basically gang stalked, which is what happens when you do that stuff, especially if the government is involved in some way. I had it happen to me because of a location that I was living in. I think, or I'm not exactly sure, and I'm not a paranoid person, or I wasn't until that happened. And it was both me and my mother, and no, we weren't high or anything like that, because it sounds like paranoid person talk, you know. But yeah, like there was trucks like outside his house. There was a guy like standing outside of his window, and that's what happens. And of course, they're not going to expose, because if they're, you know, doing this to people that are just trying to, you know. Anyway, it's called gang stalking, and I swear that it is an actual thing, and it's crazy.
It really is. And when I watched that, it was funny because I was like, my husband's like, hey, what do you want to watch? That's how we spend quality time, is watching shows on TV. And I was like, well, everybody's been telling me I need to watch this Bob Lazar show. And so I looked it up on Netflix, and it like, this is going to be gone within the next 24 hours. And I'm like, thank God I decided to pull it up, because I would have missed it. And yeah, like when he first got started doing the whole disclosure thing, like letting people know what he experienced, what he saw, you could tell he was somewhat excited about it. Like he's sharing with his fellow man, he's letting them know that this actually is happening. And then they totally destroyed his life. Like there's no way that he could ever live a normal life, because every time he gets comfortable, they come back in and raid his workplace or his home or whatnot. It's just insane.
Yeah, you know, it kind of makes you wonder the technology too, because a lot of what you were talking about, Mia, there a second ago, that term, I don't like to use that term, but it's just because I know what it involves. You know, that's like a good movie about that's caller ID identity. But I digress. The point is, Philip K. Dick had a lot of, well, he thought maybe paranormal, but I'm more apt to think it's certain technologies being developed at the time and tested. Like when his radio was off and the Carly song was playing, "You're So Vain," only the difference was when Carly Simon was singing, it was her voice, but she was singing, Phil, you're so vain, why don't you go ahead and kill yourself. Yeah, shit like that. And that's what her husband, that's what Tessa told me, Phil's ex-wife. Because I said, you know, in all these stories I read about this radio playing while it was off and you were there, and it playing, what were the lyrics, what was she actually singing? So she told me. And she thought maybe the reason why they were watching him is because Timothy Leary was a fan of Philip K. Dick, and he called Philip on the phone one day, and they just chatted and bullshitted, and that was they thought that Philip was in on trying to break Leary out of prison and all sorts of whack crap, and it was nothing of the sorts, because Philip didn't even know that Larry was even a fan or read his books. And so this is like the misinformation about Philip is that, like, oh, he did acid and wrote books. No, he didn't. He did, I think, like LSD once, and he did.
But Larry did.
Yeah, but he did. You know, uppers, because he said that he had a wife that was expensive. That he said he wrote 60 finished pages a night. Finished. I'm like, that's a lot. You know.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, so, but. So some of the things that he experienced, you know, are a little bit in Valis and Radio Free Album Booth. But so that's another thing that I found interesting about the UFO thing and the whole Bigelow research is the government mimics paranormal events because it's a good, you know, scapegoat.
Cover up. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't real because look at this. This is a mock thing, or like you said, they totally set it up. just to disprove it. This can't be real because we just faked this, so this is all fake. I don't know. I don't need disclosure because since 2012, that's when I first had my first UFO sighting, and then my most recent was in, I think it was May 26th, was it, Mia? Mia and I saw it together, and it was a flying saucer with lights around it.
I think you're, 20-something, because it was the full moon.
Yeah, it was May 26th.
26, yeah, sounds right.
Hump day! Yeah, we're looking for the paranormal, and all of a sudden, I'm like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? And Mia's like, what? And I'm like, look! And it was just coming over the horizon and getting closer and closer and closer. And I've said this before, but yeah, we were waiting to be beamed up, and we're like, take us, we're ready. And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm ready. You can go.
Yeah, like Independence Day.
Like, I don't want to report things like that, because then it's like, who's going to get my information, and will I be gang stalked? Like, I'm never going to report it.
Yeah, every
post
time.
it as much as I want, but not, yeah.
Every time I've gotten pictures and such, people are like, well, did you report it? And that seems like this is misinformation, because you didn't report it, you're not being honest. But there's that fear of, okay, number one, being on the list, which is why I never got, before marijuana was fully legal, never got my medical card. I don't like to be on lists. There's never been a really good story about being on lists. So, yeah,
Everybody's
I'd rather not.
Telemarketers. The telemarketers will find that list, no matter what it is.
And Jason said everybody's on a list. I may be on a list, but it's not one I signed up for, or, put that into this happening to me. I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot as far as our sighting. I keep thinking about, should I report this? Like, the more information they have, the better, but they're just going to say it's false, fictitious.
I wouldn't, because I think Friedman was right in a way. There's more UFO sightings that go unreported than reported. And I think people have had it because they know the government and the other contractual companies or entities are just going to screw them around. The private sector, it's probably hidden in the private sector also. It's all broken up and dispersed. There's probably very few people that know the picture, the whole thing of what's going on, because I still contend that there are those in the military that are told this information and they really believe it, and that's the problem. And I think reverse engineering is one of them. I don't think we've reverse engineered anything. I think everything that we've built, even from the ancient UFO sightings, we built that shit. We did it, humans. Now, whether we had help with interdimensional beings, call them demons, call them aliens, call them whatever you want, but I think that is more the probability than actually flying here from another planet.
I mean, to me, just to think like we're the only ones, and there's no way we are being visited by aliens, even though there are ancient artifacts, there are ancient paintings, there's ancient scripts saying that these things have happened. I don't know. I believe that we are visited, and we have been for a long time, but I do believe that a lot of them are here as well. I don't know. That's just me. I
just recently read that we only know 92 or less than that, or more than that percent. We know whatever. Okay, like we don't know 90% of our history, or 92% of our history of evolution is a complete and total mystery. Like the gap between like the Cro-Magnon man or whatever, and then like us is so large before the first civilization, like the whatever it was, the Mesopotamia, I don't know. That whole gap is missing of our evolution. So all of a sudden we go from like cave people, not even people, like primates, evolved primates, and then humans. I don't know. It's just like there's a huge gap. We don't know what happened. Like there's what happened. What the heck happened? Like, was it aliens that came and bred with us? And that, I mean, I think that that's what it was, personally. Or even just like molecules from space that like landed, I don't know, in somewhere, and I don't know.
Real bit. Do you have anything to say on this matter as far as the whole disclosure and UFOs and aliens and such?
The only thing I've got to say is I'm picking up that somebody out there, one of the bigwigs in office or a senator or somewhere like that, something like that, has been saying that it's falling under the not in our lifetime disclosure agreement that they got.
Yeah, it's a lot longer than they said it originally was.
Mm-hmm. So someone out there is saying, not in our lifetime, we're not going to disclose it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, what you've got now is doctored history.
Well, cancel culture.
Yeah, you know.
It's probably happened before and just re-immersed itself.
Yeah. You're never going to... I mean, there was one lady who was a prominent archaeologist, and she was studying the early Mesoamerican civilizations down in Mexico. Now, this is a woman of high repute. And they found artifacts that dated back 275,000 years. And it was peer-reviewed by other universities and colleges and whatnot, and they agreed for the time. Yet the establishment refused to accept it. It was 200,000 years. It can't be 275,000 years. So it's 200,000 years. I mean, you get people getting in there thinking they're going to get taught something resembling the truth. You know, undergraduates thinking that this is it. And of course, they've just been told a pack of lies. I mean, even by their own standards, they've fallen below what they're supposed to be. They're not scientists. They're no longer scientists. They're pseudo-scientists. That's what they've become. I mean, it's Mia mentioned Mesopotamia. I mean, the ancient city of Dwarka in India, the marine archaeologists brought up samples and had them carbon dated, and they were over 9,500 years old, right? Now, Babylon in Sumeria is only 5,000 years old, so it's... And as soon as this confrontation came up, the Indian government stopped the funding for the research. They said that's we don't have the money. Of course, that's nonsense because it contradicted the accepted science. So if there were ancient astronauts, and we know about the Vimanas, they had the aircraft, you'll see it on YouTube where they built a model of one of these things, and an engineer who works for one of the big companies, not sure whether it's Lockheed or Northrop Grumman, they took it to a wind tunnel, and this model was stable at 50 miles an hour. It would have flown. So the technology was there long ago, and you could these, what they call UPAs, out-of-place artifacts. And why should the human race be the only sentient life form ever to evolve in Earth's history? The best product for it, I would say, would be in the sea. You get USOs traveling at 170 miles an hour. This anti-submarine warfare ship shouldn't catch up with them.
And going underwater, Jim, I was my friend Chris.
I love the music. It's perfect. Thank you.
Well, that's not me. Anyway, the underwater USOs, I was told by Chris that because of the magnetic field that's created around it, actually pushes the water away. So no water actually touches the craft. Things kind of like it's like a.
And that's what I heard. It's kind of like anti-gravity, and it's gravity pushing against gravity. So I could see that happening. It's insane. And it goes in and out of water without decreasing in speed. Nothing does that.
He said once the regular, and this way he's explaining it, he goes, well, once the regular engines are turned on, they turn on the electromagnetic engine, and once that gets going, that's what it runs on. And it creates a positive and negative polarity. And I forget which direction the craft always travels in, but basically think of a long magnetic strip or field in the sky and it zipping along this thing. Remember when you were a kid and you'd string up, a string from one end of the room to the other and then hook up a little tube or a thing and zip back and forth real quick? Kind of like that, And he's baritone, this alien entity that Chris had encountered that explained to him. He says, we are sitting or standing still inside the magnetic field moves. So that's why I can do these crazy numbers in the field. Looking at a movie and look and all the pictures passing by really quick. He's like, just like flying. You're sitting still. And what he explained, some other things. He said, the technology was more Tesla invented for the newer crafts. And he saw 40-foot and 60-foot crafts in these hangars before they destroyed these old B-17 hangars on Shemmy Island. You know, I like to throw that in there because information like this is important, but, you know, it's too far-fetched for, you know, the Stanton Friedmans and whoever else on the power control group circuit nowadays in this field. So,
involved in the United States weapons program. Part of their security service. I'm going to tell you anything at all. And he was just working for it. He wrote a book called The Crash at Corona in New Mexico. And the skeptics went down to interview all the people that he'd found. The same at Roswell. Friedman claimed that 175 new witnesses to what happened at Roswell. So when the skeptics went down there and interviewed these people, 70 of them weren't even born at the time. And the 5 that were born in 1947 were only quoting what they'd heard from other people. So why would Friedman do that? You know, it's a deflection. You know, it's to deflect attention away from something else. And I'm saying you've got to hear any news service that it means they've got to lie and dissemble and be ambitious. That's what they'll do. But this whole study, especially the New York Times publishing that information and the videos and everything else, let the Russians and the Chinese know that the United States has got stuff and this is our stuff and you can't match it. You know, this is the sort of thing that's going. But are they? One of them was seen to plunge into the sea and then take off at incredible speed. Now, if they've got that, then, you know, that's about 100 years ahead of everything else. You know, it's they're not telling us the whole story. They never will. You know, I'm repeating myself, but they're never going to tell us anything. You know, 20 years' time, there'll be another congressional hearing and it'll come out with the same mumbo-jumbo. You know, where there's 400 cases we looked at, but we only got 299 that we can't answer. You know, this is the same thing. This is a Project Blue Book again. When you're asking for information, they tell you this is what happened. This man at Albuquerque, New Mexico, saw this thing, and it's an unknown. And it could have been a balloon, a weather balloon. It could have been anything, but they make you think it's actually something else. So you've got to look at everything that they're saying and say, well, it's possible. There again, your common sense to you, oh, wait a minute. Why have they waited 70 years to come out to tell us something? Of course, we knew they were never going to tell us anything. I mean, I downloaded a copy from the Black Vault, John Greenwald's Black Vault. And it's what I call the Hoover maneuver after J. Edgar Hoover.
Very clever.
Yeah, he denied there was any such thing as organised crime, and the president was going to give bums rush. So he got the mafia masters who were blackmailing him, and he said, look, can you help me out? So they organised crime spree. So when Hoover was called in to give a he said, wait a minute, my guys have got Winchester rifles and action shotgun and 38 special. These guys have got Thompson submachine guns and Colt 45 automatics. They expected to, I need more funding, and then they got more funding. When you look at what they're saying it's could be a surveillance equipment from a foreign power, and we need more money. You know, that's the bottom line of what they were saying on that document.
That's exactly what Carl or Skywatcher sent me. He's like, man, like they're saying this, and they want more funding for UFOs and such. Like, give me a freaking break. If you want funding, let us know what's going on. But I mean, there's so many things that are unexplained, including the Industrial Revolution, like when we came from, you know, not having cars, riding horse and buggy and all this other stuff, to having all this technology that was never ever before there. Like, this stuff has been going on for a long time, even pre-Hoover, but there's so many people that want to squash it down and mute it and not let us know why. And yes, there are times when I see like there's a panic and people are running around, especially like when COVID came out. one example. Everybody's running around like chickens with their head cut off, and that's when I was like, okay, now I kind of get it, why they're not disclosing this, but there's more and more and more people that are seeing this, realizing this, believing in this. Like, what is your freaking point? Why are you not sharing this information? I don't know. It's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, well, here in the UK, the government issued a statement saying what to do if you had 2 vaccinations, right? And you contract COVID, this is what you've got to do. Now, if you've been vaccinated against something that's supposed to protect you from getting it, how can you catch COVID if you've already had the vaccinations? You've got 2 vaccinations. So what's the point? What is the point? You've probably seen that video of the girl sticking magnets on her body.
Yes.
If you've seen that. Yeah, I mean, it's...
My daughter was running around doing that because she got freaked out. She saw that video and she's like, Mom, look, and she's sticking it to her head and other parts of her body, and she's like, here, you try it. And I stuck it to my head and it stuck, and we tried it on the kids and it stuck too. And I'm like, it could just be like, it's hot and sweaty, so it could be, just a sort of suction thing going on or whatever. But that video, and I told my husband about this because he's like, yeah, of course it's going to stick. And I'm like, well, that video, like, she's sticking it here and here, like, she's sticking it so many different random places and then shaking around, and it's not going away. But I tried it, and of course, when I did it, because it was only sweat or whatever, like, it just popped off. But for her, like, she's trying, like, this is abnormal. They're putting something in bodies that is not right.
Yep. I mean, that's where they're talking about nanotechnology.
mRNA.
Yeah, mRNA. They're putting all sorts of crap into these things. The capsule that all this biotechnology is in contains, I forget, it's a metal, and the name of the metal I forget. But that's got through your whole system. So if it's supposed to protect you, how can you catch the virus? That's what they said to stop. I mean, they tell you the common cold produces antibodies that would stop this virus. So there's an awful lot more to it, obviously, than they're ever going to let on.
Yeah.
But I see all of these things, the UFO phenomenon, they're all linked together, all of these things.
Yeah, and there's so many things that pop up for me that I'm just like, realization. Like today, right before the show started, hi, it's Verizon. Play, share, and stream ultra fast when you upgrade to 5G. I'm like, okay, so does this whole COVID vaccination have anything to do with the 5G? Because supposedly, there's more waves going out there. It's killing birds. It's causing effects on different other things. I don't know. Could this be part of a different or bigger plan? I don't know.
Yeah,
it makes me wonder.
I mean, the thing is, with the UK and the United States about 5G, was that this thing was originated in China, and they really don't want China to have any sort of major influence on communications in either the United Kingdom or the United States. But I mean, it's the nuclear power stations in Britain are heavy financial input from China. I mean, you could say that they own half of Britain. So you're not going to turn around and tell the Chinese, your fault, that this virus escaped from a lab in Wuhan and blah, blah, blah. And now we find out that it's actually there are cases that actually preceded this back in 2017, 2016 in other countries that identified it as this COVID-19 or SARS-2. So the Chinese have got nothing to do with it.
Well, I don't know, because there was a couple of people that were working there at that Wuhan station who actually took it home. It could be because they didn't clean themselves right or whatever, but one of the guys, his wife got sick with it, and the other guy probably spread it to one of his family members. I can't remember what his story was, but it was when they announced it, and I know when I got what I thought was COVID, after learning what COVID was in February. So that was a month before this was supposed to even be here. And it was the sickest that I had been in as long as I can remember. Last time I can remember being that sick is when I got chicken pox as a kid. And I basically felt like I slept for a week, and then, as a mom and a wife, I started to feel guilty, like I need to get up and try to do things. And as soon as I would do that, I'd have to sit down or lay down because of lack of oxygen, and it just felt like, it still feels like I'm not completely back, I'm still dealing with things as far as like my thought process and my memory and other things like that, like my breathing capacity. I'm still not back to normal, and I'm pretty sure I got it, so I don't know. I still wear my mask occasionally. I haven't been wearing it to court this week, but when I go to Walmart or places where there's an immense amount of people, I do wear it because I do worry about bringing it home, and I do believe it's out there. Now we got this Delta version of it in India, which is insane compared to all the other ones, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is about this, the only companies that are making money out of this whole thing are the pharmaceutical companies and the people that's producing the protective clothing and masks and so on. Everybody else is going to the wall.
Hand sanitizer, we need to come up with one. We'll make it out of Everclear.
Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to come up with another strain. We're coming into summer here in Britain. Summer, dear oh dear. I think I saw some blue skies, so that must be the summer. It's there'll be another strain. When we come up to winter time, there'll be the winter strain will arrive.
Yeah, and my husband's like, haven't you noticed, everything's kind of calmed down? And I'm like, yeah, it's summertime. The cold and flu virus, generally, people catch it during winter because heat kills the certain type of virus. That's why when it first came out, I watched this video where they're doing this treatment with a blow dryer up your nose and stuff. It's like, use this heat and use this moisture and etc. to get rid of this thing, which, yeah, wouldn't do it. But yeah, heat supposedly kills it. So I could see, yes, it's not as immense here now as it was in the winter time, but what happens when winter hits? I don't know. I heard in Australia.
Ivermectin.
Yeah, I heard in Australia that it's kicking up again and there's lockdowns happening again. Have you heard anything about that, Robert?
Yep, 20 cases or 21 cases in Sydney and 2 cases in Brisbane. Brisbane. But they're now talking about bringing lockdowns back in. And as of the 9th of July, everyone in Queensland has to do one of those QR codes if they're going into the shops. And all the shops inside, like the malls that they have, and you've got to put down where you are in each and every shop when you go to them. And it's utter crap. It's mandate. Who wants to follow that crap? Not me.
Yeah.
That means putting new information out again and again and again. Just like you were saying. I don't want to be on a list. So I'm just going to say no. If they say can't come in, well, I'll say I won't spend my money here.
Spend it somewhere else, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, if this Chinese Mars lander returns to Earth with samples of the Martian surface, we're going to have the Mars strain. It's going to come in. Yeah. They're never going to let us off the hook. They're totally in their power. They come out and say, there's a new strain and you've got your 18 vaccinations, You'll be walking about like a pincushion with the amount of syringes you're going to have stuck in you. That's and there's big demonstrations down in London. 4 police officers were injured apparently, and it's beginning to get violent now because people who's had a bellyful have been penned up. There's only so much that people are going to take, and then it's going to erupt.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse. The four major cities that they clamped down on right away were Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham, and Liverpool. Now, if you're looking for a war, that's the people you're going to go for, because that is where they all come from. That's where all the fighting people come from.
Yeah, I just turn around and go back home and hide.
Yeah. That's what they clamp down on. They don't want people communicating. You know, if you think things are bad out there, Robert, you want to come here. I mean, I've got to do the hokey cokey before I get into your store, and then I've got to register that I haven't been swabbed or probed or anything else as far as I know. All this kind of crap. And I was saying to one of my pals, see when if this ever ends, if it ever ends, we're going to get a big folder from the Scottish Government that you must complete. And it's going to say, did you follow all the rules? Did you social distance? Did you wear a mask and all of this? That's going to come. You know, that's a certainty. Because about 4 or 5 years ago, they sent out this thing that we had to complete. Or you got a £2,000 fine. Did you agree with this? No. Did you agree with that? No, I don't. I ticked all I don't agree with boxes I could find, Robert, you know, because I don't agree with everything.
That totally goes against your rights. Do this or else.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's just going to get worse, fellas and lady. But yeah, it's scary what's going on, and it's scary, like, how people are falling for it. You know, at first all the original sheeples going and getting their stuff done, and then now they're doing lotteries and free scholarships, so on and so forth, and people are like, hell yeah, give me the jab. And you know, I've caught up with some people that I haven't seen in years during this Dylan Redwine trial, and my friend Kathy, which should go into the Guinness Book of World Records for cussing the most during court. And I think the defense attorney actually enjoyed it because he got to cuss too. So there was a lot of cussing going on during this day. I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday during court. I think it was Thursday. Yeah. It was pretty interesting. But yeah, everybody's just like falling for it. And she got hers, and she's like, man, I can't believe I did that. I felt forced into it because my husband's mom... Okay. She works at the hospital, and she really was pressuring me to do it. And then, of course, her son, who she's married to, was pressuring her to do it as well. And she said, man, I still don't know why I did that. I just felt really, really pressured. And then I felt like I needed to, or else they weren't going to leave me alone. Because she asked me if I got it, and I was like, no, because to me, this is an experimental phase. And look at all the vaccinations back in the day and all the difficulties and issues that happened due to it, because it was an experimental process. Once they get it down, perhaps I might, but I don't even like taking the flu vaccine. Every time I take it, I get sick.
Yeah, well, the doctor told me, he says, at the time, we got the free flu vaccination here in Scotland. He says, I advise against it because you've got a respiratory illness. I says, yeah, that's what worries me. I says, but you still don't tell me what it is, and nobody's going to give me an antibiotic to get rid of it. I need to consult further. I said, that's okay. That was 4 or 5 years ago. Now they want me to be vaccinated with something that could quite possibly kill me.
They won't even give you antibiotics, but they'll give you a vaccination? Give me a freaking break. Fix this first, and then we'll work on that. Yeah. I don't get it. Yeah,
and having high blood pressure, the one they're using the most here is that AstraZeneca one that's just causing blood clots. I think there's 1,395 people have died. This is the UK government's figures of the vaccinations.
Holy shnikes. Here they're like, oh, 3 or 4, 300 and something odd people. Holy shnikes.
No, 1,395.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the virus isn't killing them fast enough. Here, let's give them this.
Yeah, let's give them this, you know. Yeah. But
yeah,
you see, worst thing about,
go ahead.
Worst thing about all of this, if they've cried wolf, you know, for their own financial ends, then something real turns up, right out of the blue, and people start falling down in the street. And then they're going to say, oh, this is real. Well, wait a minute, you told us this COVID-19 was real, and it turns out it's a load of crap. They're not going to follow it. And that's when this thing is going to spread. I mean, that Black Death, from 1347 to 1351, population of the Earth was estimated at 500 million. And it's estimated that 100 million people died way back then. I mean, they took aerial photographs when they extended the motorway, Robert, in the summer, and you could see the outlines of all these where houses had been. These were whole townships and villages. They were just dead, gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that's what always takes me back to the Georgia Guidestones, and people are like, oh yeah, that's a bunch of BS, but every time we've surpassed that number, it seems like something really bad happens to wipe us out.
Yeah. It's been orchestrated, the whole this whole thing's been orchestrated, and yet at the same time you've got this they're coming out with the Pentagon's analysis of the UFO tic-tac thing and all the rest of it. You've got to look at what's going to happen is next year food prices are going up. They're already starting to go up here, and oil prices and fuel prices are going to go way up through the roof. That's the thing that you need. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything you depend on, you're going to pay more.
Yeah. You're going to pay more. It's already started. One store was selling one of these little takeaway meals, £1.40. Go back in again the next week, it was £1.80, so it's 40 pence increase. That's, in old money, that's nearly 10 shillings, half a pound. And that's where this is going to go on. It's never going to stop to a point where you're going to end up getting food rations. They're going to give out ration cards, like it was in the war. I remember when food rationing stopped in Britain, I think it was about 1954 or 1955. My mother says, well, thank God that this has gone. Here, go and play with that. And she gave me the ration book. It was a fawn colour with red banding and the King's crown in the centre and all the little stamps in it. So I just made little aeroplanes and stuff out of them. So that's going to come back. Yeah, that's going to come back.
Yeah. Well, they're already doing it here. Like, they're already paying us more due to COVID and due to people not working as much. Here's some more money on your food stamps. Yes, I'm on food stamps because I'm a broke bitch. But, and then all of a sudden we got this big old payment, and I think it's because during the school year when I'm doing homeschool with the kids, they weren't paying us the stipend that we usually paid the school for school breakfast and school lunches. And so all of a sudden, like, we were over $2,000 on our card, which was pretty cool. So they're already doing those stipends to, keep you happy, keep you quiet, keep you from getting super pissed off or upset, relenting.
Well, if you look at, I keep a check on the financial market in Britain, the UK, and it's escalating, it's climbing up in its percentage of stock shares are going up. And you think to yourself, well, wait a minute. There's so many shops have gone, whole businesses have gone, store chains have gone, John Lewis has gone, Asda, all the big, they're all going to the wall, and yet the stock shares are going up in price. That's what,
They've been crashing hardcore. This year is the first year that I've invested in stocks, and it's been going up and down, and then I think it was a week or two ago, everything was going completely down except for one stock. But yeah, now it's going back up again, but I don't know, it's just a big game to me, this whole thing.
Well,
everything's connecting.
Well, what happens is that you've got an awful lot of companies that are heavily involved in IT research and development and aerospace, and but small companies don't have a lot of money, and they go to the mall. And what happens is the big companies step in and take them over, and they're gone. So it doesn't matter what it is that would have been a benefit to us. You're never going to see it. And so the man that invented the puncture-proof tyre, and way back in the 1930s, Dunlop and Goodyear, they paid him off. You give us a patent, and that's it. That's why you go in there for a set of tyres, it must cost you about £300. They're about 50 quid each, and you got to replace the one in the boot as well.
Yeah, they have to have the same tread or your car's going to get upset.
Yeah.
Everything is way up right now. Like, I just dread going to the grocery store. Because, like, that's half of my money for the week. Maybe more, depending on when I get paid. And I'm just like, it's depressing. Because, like, it's like you can't, you can get the most minimal amount of groceries. And you're still going to spend $200. Yeah. Getting everything, that you need. I mean, for me, it would be like just everything that's the basic things. Water, let's say, I don't know, toilet paper. Well, maybe not. Let's not use that word here.
Toilet paper fort.
We're all a little traumatized. But, like, seriously, like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep this really simple and just get the basics. And it was like $200. I'm like, and that's going to last me less than a week. Like, what is going on? Terrible.
It is. I don't know. It's insane. There's a lot of crazy things going on out there, people. One of the last things before we go to break that I had to say was even the school system is trying to pressure you and get you to do things that you don't have to do. So, for example, my son, he's going into junior high, I guess. It's right before junior high. And they said, well, you have to enroll your kids. If you don't, then if CDLS does not work for you, you can't sign up for school. And I told my daughter's school counselor about this. I'm like, yeah, this is a bunch of BS. This is what they told me. So I did sign all the kids up for public school if the COVID virus seems like it's still, raking the coals or whatnot. I'll just sign them up for CDLS. But otherwise, I've been pressured to sign them up for school. And she's like, that's total bullshit. This is public school. They have to let you in. Just like hospitals. Oh, we can't see you because you don't have insurance. That goes against the Hippocratic Oath. You're not allowed to do that. You have to see people, even if they can't pay you. It's just really bad. And people are just really taking advantage of it. And it's all about money, really. The school district is not making as much money as they used to because a lot of people that used to go to school aren't going to school anymore. But on that note, you guys, we do have to go to our first music break. On this break, we have Fireline Kiss, who is an on-the-road trucker, so thank you for your service, sir, because otherwise we wouldn't be eating. And he's going to be singing Your Eyes. Then we have Cockroach from the UK with ICU, and then we have Fred Johnson III with Sugar. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Your eyes. Your eyes.
to inspire fondness with love.
Where did our love go wrong?
My sugar.
Why did I make you cry? Whispers flow through my mind when I think about you.
That warm feeling in me.
My heart sings a sad song and just melts away. Please look into my eyes.
My sugar.
There's life in out there. Until the sun doesn't shine anymore, I'll be there. When time is a memory, I'll know this love. You will always be the one.
My sugar.
The feeling is so strong. Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. Where did our love go wrong? My sugar.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, TessaTNT. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Jason Davenport, Mr. Jim Morris, Miss Mia Savage, and Mr. Robert White. Welcome back, you guys, and thanks so much for joining us tonight. Holy shnikes, my mouse is frozen. Can you guys still hear me? That was weird.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just use the other thing because that was weird. Now it's working. What the heck? I had to use my pad. Luckily I had that. Wow. Okay, so yeah, we've had a lot to talk about during the break, and yeah, the world is a really crazy place right now. But I did want to take a moment and send out my love, light, and prayers and encouragement to those in Surfside, Florida that are dealing with this whole building collapse, and so sending that energy and prayers to the missing and lost, and those that are missing their lost and loved ones. I hope you find each other, but man, this is a really, really sad and bad situation.
I mean, it's not as if there was earth tremors or anything else. That's got to be something wrong in the structure. You know, it's built. Somebody's been, putting in cheap cement or not reinforcing the concrete or something. It has to be something like that because.
Well, a report we met with said that 2017 that they knew that there were structural deficiencies and they hadn't gone about trying to fix anything until it collapsed. So
yeah,
someone's going to be in big doo-doo.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that, like, in the parking garage, there was cracks and stuff, and chunks missing, and then on some balconies, there were some cracks and chunks missing, which I've seen that on buildings, and they're like, well, this was made back all the way in 1980-something, and I'm like, that to me really isn't that old, but it kind of is, because I feel old, but still, Could it be a sinkhole? Could it be something else? Like, they said that the structure of the swimming pool is faulty, so they had some leakage going on there, as well as the cracks and stuff in the garage. So it could be a sinkhole caused by the leakage in the pool. Could be something else, which I'm going to bring up in a minute. I want to hear your guys' thoughts first. So, Robert, go ahead.
No, you expect things like that happening in an earthquake zone, but that in itself, it's not just enough of money they're going to have to pay out. That's no company that the people have lost their relatives and lost their lives. There should be jail sentences handed out. Whoever it was that inspectorate or whatever, it failed to actually say, right, this sorted right now, or else we're going to have to evacuate the people out of there. They should be behind bars, because for me that's a criminal offence. It's manslaughter. They knew the action should have been taken and they didn't. So for me that's manslaughter.
Yeah, and they did call for another inspection, like they were due for inspection. I think it was supposed to happen in the week, but it was a little too late, and there was actually a guy that was talking to his mom on the phone, and she was like, son, last night I heard this crazy loud noise, and I don't know what it was. It's probably one of the beams or something that fell, and then the rest of it just kind of went around it, but there is a conspiracy around it. But I want to hear what others have to say about it. So I heard Robert, you had mentioned something about it, and Jim, you as well. But yeah, this is insane. It kind of reminds me of 9/11. Different. Go ahead.
Something else. I was just reading in one of the papers today that there were 15 after from one of the units. So I don't know whether they are calling out and they're just getting static, because that's what it said that was happening. They're just getting static on the line, or somebody's calling in and it's just rerouting from that phone, and they're only getting the static because the phone isn't there anymore. So someone is definitely making an attempt to call out. So I know what's happening, but no one's answering.
Oh my goodness. I hope they find
that
them.
That was on the 11th floor, I believe, that the phone had been.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that building, at first saying 12 or 13 floors, but it turns out it was only 12, right? And then insult to injury, then it's raining because monsoon season and hurricane season and such. Yeah, then all of a sudden fire pops up. It's like, seriously. So the firefighters are having to put water on this, which is making the structure and the weight that is probably bearing down on people so much heavier. Like, this is insane. Like, this is like a worst nightmare scenario. Something I would never want to be a part of. So I really feel for these people, because this came out of field. This came nowhere. Mia, what are your thoughts on it? Sleepy? AKA Jason? Jason? Did we lose? Do you see more?
No, they're both are muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. Okay.
Unfortunately. What it is, like, when I'm on a Skype call, sometimes, like, especially at night, like, it'll cut off if I try to do something else at the same time, if that makes sense. So if I send something, like an image or something in the chat, then it just cuts out. So it's annoying. It's doing that. It's a weird night already. I feel like right before I got on this call, okay, this is off, kind of definitely off subject, but right before I joined this call, like 10 minutes before the show, I was walking through my bathroom, which leads to my closet. And you know how I told you about that light when we did our investigation here?
Yes.
And how it just passes through, and how it's not the light bulb, it's not the electricity, we don't have mice, there's nothing like that. And it literally strobe lighted as I was walking through, like strobe lighted for like 30 seconds straight, like I was at a rave or something. And I'm like, what is this? Like, it tripped me out, because when you like see like a strobe light and people are moving, everything looks kind of in slow motion or whatever.
Yeah, really creepy.
Yeah, that happened to me. I was like, okay, try me, like, do it again, like.
That reminds me of last weekend, and we had so many pyrotechnical issues, and I'm like, it's probably because we're like 3 or almost maybe even 4 now months behind on our internet payment, because we've been waiting for our taxes. and we don't have enough money to pay it. Like, it's almost $300 now. But I went out and fed the kids because nobody thinks of that. So I'll get off the show, go out, feed myself, feed the kids. And when I came out, my son is like, Mom, the cabinets in my room have been slamming open and close, open and close. They have a closet and it's got a cabinet area on top, and it was just opening and closing. So there's no reason for that. Like, the cats, nothing can get in there. There's nothing up there. Why is that doing that? And he told me that, and as I'm fixing his food, then the lights are like flicker, flicker, on and off, on and off, on and off. Like you said, strobe light. I think that was the same night that we lost Bill Hauser. Yep, it was. Wow. It was Saturday, the 19th of June. But yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in the world, this realm, other realms. But going back to the Florida thing, is Jason back on?
No.
Okay. Well, I heard a little conspiracy theory about this. I want to share this with you guys. So, the Surfside collapse conspiracy control them, and the meaning, I'm saying, not meaning any disrespect to any family that went up there, because this is a very, very serious situation. But I have to show you because I did find it on several different places. So they're saying it looks like a controlled demo. Even the mayor is saying buildings don't fall like this. Could be a sinkhole. Everybody's like, hey, where's the sinkhole? Could be covered by debris. John McAfee from the McAfee Internet Protector had a condo in this exact place. And I'm going to read you guys some of the screenshots that I have, including his statement, and I believe it was to his wife. But this stuff is very, very intriguing. So, you know that John, within this last week, was found hanging in his
prison cell.
Yeah, his prison cell. He'd killed himself. So the widow of John McAfee, Janice, pictured in this picture, said Friday that her husband was not suicidal when she last spoke to him hours before he was found dead. And then John, these are some of his tweets. He said, the U.S. believes I have hidden crypto. I wish I did, but it has dissolved through the many hands of Team McAfee. Your belief is not required, and my remaining assets are all seized. My friends evaporated through fear of association. I have nothing, yet I regret nothing. Then he again tweets and said, I have 1 million followers, but I'd be surprised if even 1% bother to read my tweets. Ramblings of an old man lost in a near infinite Twitterverse, like tears in the rain. As you may guess, I'm having a down day. And then here it says, okay, so this is John C. Silva of NBCT, and he said there is zero evidence McAfee ever tweeted this, but adding a tiny bit of credibility is a tweet from 2 years ago where he mentions having the 31 terabytes of files. And this is a tweet from McAfee. He says, I've collected files on corruption in governments for the first time. I'm naming names and specifics. I'll begin with a corrupt CIA agent and 2 Bohemian officials. Coming today, if I'm arrested or disappear, 31 plus terabytes of incriminating data will be released to the press. And then here again it says the antivirus software tycoon was found dead on Wednesday, allegedly from suicide by hanging, 1 day before the Chaplin Towers building collapsed. So here's another tweet. He said, if anything happens to me, please know that the 31 terabytes of files I have are located on a hard drive or hard drives in my condo near 88th Street and Collins Avenue, just north of Miami Beach. Then again, Nikki Karras says John McAfee owned a unit at the building that collapsed. The address of the building was 8777 Collins Avenue South. Here is a tweet he put out June 8th, 2021. And that's the same one I just read to you. Pretty freaking weird. He's found hung in his cell, then all of a sudden this building that these files were kept locked down in collapses. and it looks like a demolition. Seems pretty weird to me. If you...
Oh, it's the same as for that fellow. Was it Weinstein? His name was.
Weinstein, yeah.
I was going to spill the beans on the Clintons. He suddenly decides to commit. Yeah, Epstein. Yeah, he suddenly decides to commit suicide as well. You know, what a coincidence. No, it's
It's also a coincidence that the cameras didn't work at that exact time. So weird.
Yeah, they're cutting off any sort of communication, and it's the same as 9/11, where you see everything demolishing stage by stage by stage by stage, and the towers collapsed.
Total demolition.
I mean, it's if Weinstein, what he should have done, and maybe he did, is you don't just make one copy, you make a lot of copies and you spread them over every railway station, and the lockers everywhere. If it happens, it happens to me. Here's a key for this one, and I hope that's what he's done. But there's no doubt about it. He would know, being into software and an IT engineer, software developer, that the NSA are always watching people in case they can hack into their things. Remember that young fella hacked into NORAD, the Cheyenne Mountains? Do you remember that one?
When he was 12 years old?
Yeah, he was 12 years old. They wanted to put him in jail for 30 years and all, and for goodness sake, that shows you just how tyrannical.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Even if you murder your parents when you're 12 years old, you might get 10 years or something like that. They're going to put him in for 30-something years for hacking.
Well,
give him a fucking job. Give him a fucking job in the FBI or the Bureau of Investigation or Internal Affairs. Give him a fucking job, because at that age, you're hacking government sites. You need to put to work. You need to be put to work. Yeah. That's insane.
Yep.
You know, he was such an interesting guy too. Like, just I watched like this a couple of things on him. I actually didn't know that he had passed, right? But you know, he was just anti-government towards the end or whatever. At one point, he was selling drugs. Like, he was a crazy dude. Like, multiple women, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that commercial like where he's like sitting there in a chair and he's got all these hot chicks around him, just like rubbing on him and stuff. I'm like, that's a pretty cool commercial.
Yeah. Very interesting, but yeah, I think somebody has been after him for a while, because even the things that he has said, I mean, he probably in his position would be very, very most likely ticked off some people. Or government in somewhere, maybe not even United States. But anyhow, I don't think he wasn't even from the United States, was he? He was from the UK or something, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'd have to Google it.
Originally.
Where is John McAfee originally from? I would just ask Siri or something, but I don't use AI, so I have to, chicken peck my phone real quick.
There's something not right about it. That's why I don't even like my camera on when I do these Skypes and stuff. Like, I'm on my computer. Like, that's why I don't do it from my computer. I do it from my phone, because I'm like, no, I'm not giving you permission.
Oh, he was from the UK. Cinderford, United Kingdom.
I knew he was from somewhere. Either there or like
he totally has a
South
UK
America
look
or something.
for real. That's awesome. I can see it. It's so weird how this stuff happens, and they're like, yeah, he killed himself because they were trying to bring him back to the United States for tax evasion. Seriously, you're really gonna kill yourself over that? I don't fucking think so. I think they probably tortured and killed them, got the information of where the terabytes were hidden, went and got it, and then collapsed the building so there was no evidence. They don't care who dies or what happens. Like, we're minute to them. We're just civilians. We're not
well,
citizens.
look at all the planes that get crashed that they only want to kill one person in.
Yeah.
Like, hundreds die for one person.
Yeah. It's just a day
They
at
don't give a
work.
crap.
Day at work.
But
So for not,
do not
I
know
don't get it.
considerations.
It's like,
I mean,
okay, go ahead.
even if the hard drive was still in the building, Robert, I mean, you get guys getting out of the rescue. They're not looking for a hard drive. They're trying to save somebody who might still be alive, buried under the rubble. So if they came across a hard drive, it's nothing. You know, it's just a bit of dross.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah.
Wow. This world is so
It's,
crazy. It's kind of like a bad dream.
Yeah, well, you see that what you've got an information war now as well, and you've got Britain saying the biggest threat is Russia going to hack in and shut down the power system, and the Chinese are just as bad, and everybody's bad except Britain, you know. We're safe here, nothing's going to happen to us, you know. Yeah, right-o. I mean, they sent that destroyer out, HMS Defender, deliberately into disputed water around the Ukraine, and the Russians told them, if you don't pull back, we're going to open fire on you. And eventually they did. But Britain said, oh no, it wasn't. They didn't fire on us. There was an artillery exercise going on there that the Soviets carried out. So the shells that were fired weren't fired at the warship, you know. But it didn't hang about long anyway. So it's they're messing about with Russia. And if Russia thinks it's going to be attacked, it'll attack first. It's only been attacked twice in relative history. Napoleon and Hitler, and both attacks came from the west, didn't come from the east. So if there's going to be some sort of nonsense where they build up the armed forces and we'll show the Russians a thing or six, they say, well, they're going to attack us. We're not hanging about. And then it's thank you and good night, Vienna.
Yeah, we're not going to wait for the first strike. We're going to strike first. But yeah, it's insane how the world is working and how people are being killed and attacked and whatnot. I could see the whole Epstein thing, but come on. Like, who was John going to out? Whose information did he have? And being that he is a internet service that protects different accounts and they have so much freaking information, which is totally, you know, wrong and bad for them to take information from certain people. But there's things that we need to know about our hierarchies and what's going on behind the scenes because, just like this whole disclosure thing, we're not privy. And there's things that we do need to know.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen. You know, they're going to keep us in the dark.
Or kill
all
you.
You've got to do, yeah, all you've got to do is wear your face mask, social distance, and wash your hands, and everything will be fine. And don't worry about it, you know.
Stay at home, don't talk to anyone.
Yeah, the 50 megaton nuclear bomb is on its way from the Soviet Union. It's got your name on it, but don't worry about it. You'll be gone in a flash.
Reminds me of Weird Al's song, It's Christmas at Ground Zero.
Yeah. But, no, it's, with McAfee, he is going to be privy to an awful lot of information, as you said, Tessa. And that's the one thing that don't, I mean, it's here, the man that worked at Bletchley Park, Turing, forget his first name, he developed or improved the machines to decode the Germans' transmissions faster. He somehow beat himself to death, poisoned himself at the same time, and snuggled up in bed. His door was locked, so nobody could get in. He was found, his housekeeper came, they think he died on the Sunday. Housekeeper turned up on Monday and had to let herself in because the door was locked.
Yeah.
His post-mortem took place on the Tuesday and he was cremated on the Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So
oh, imagine that.
Yeah, you can't call for another autopsy because he's gone, you know. And they think that what happened was that he hacked into the Russians computers in Moscow, found out just how many Soviet agents were in the United States and in the United States government. And they couldn't have that because it would embarrass the United States and it would cause pandemonium. Now that means a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. Right through the whole thing, we know that Los Alamos, the spies that were in there were passing the information on to the Soviet Union. Even Oppenheimer, he was blamed as one. Whether he was a spy or not, I don't know. But it was the extent of the Soviet espionage network in the United States that Turing uncovered. And they had to basically just to shut his mouth, make sure it never happened again. And that goes on all the time. So you've had this whole link, anybody that's a danger to them, exposed what's going on. Yeah.
And they'll try to pay people off or threaten them with harm if they don't take the money. You know, there's so many things they do.
Yeah.
Even people in the Air Force that have seen UFOs and know that they do exist, and they've done this in their military experience, they've threatened not only them but their families. They're such bullies. I'm so over it.
Yeah, the film was good. Cumberbatch was the actor that played Alan Turing.
Benadryl cucumber patch, yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I did just
It's,
mambo dogface to the banana patch. That was good.
Yeah. But no, it's you'll never hear anything more about it, you know. McAfee's dead, he's gone, that's it, you know, and the papers will turn to something else. That's why they latched onto this tic-tac nonsense, because newspapers are folding up all over the planet. You can get the news instantly, more or less, on the internet. When you buy a newspaper, you're getting yesterday's news, and unless there's an article in it you specifically want, it's no use. An awful lot of newspapers gone to the mall in Britain. I dare say it's the same elsewhere. So they've got to have a story to latch onto. And I mean, here in the UK, I mean, I'm sick and tired of listening about the royal family. What's her name? Meghan Markle and the whole 9 yards. And you get people supposedly dying right, left and centre, living on the street, no housing, malnutrition, the whole 9 yards. And this is what you get, you know, the Duchess or whatever the hell it is that she has visited such and such a place, you know, a school or a hospital. It's orchestrated. It's been orchestrated from day one, and it's never going to change. I fully expect to pop my clogs, and it will still be here. The new strain is that you've still got to wear a mask, and you've still got to social distance and the whole 9 yards. They're never going to let you off the hook. They keep putting back, like Wimbledon's going to kick off on Monday. Normally that place is packed out, all the courts are packed, the centre court and the number one court, they're all packed. Same as a soccer stadium, you get 70,000 people in it, you're only allowed 10,000 in. So if 10,000 people go in and they're wearing a face mask and a social distancing, and you're vaccinated, what's the problem? If everybody was vaccinated and social distance, or even reduced the social distancing, it doesn't make any sense. It's just that they don't want people getting together and talking and communicating. It's all about communication. That's what they're trying to prevent. I
feel like that's so true. And not even just that, but you can't, the moral of the story is you can't stop people from communicating. And during this whole pandemic BS crap, it backfired because more people have been communicating, and all of these so-called conspiracy theories have come to pass to the point where you can't hide it anymore. The freaking Britney Spears thing, I mean, they called years ago, and people were like, oh, you guys are crazy psycho fans. I'm not even a fan.
I
am
know.
not even a fan, but I just knew, like, I'm like, there's some serious stuff. And then there was some YouTube videos, not necessarily about that, but about her being a slave, supposedly,
Or
to,
her
and about her
recording to her court
family.
case where she was talking about what happened to her and such.
Yeah, but now they can't hide it. Exactly. But think about all these things that have come to pass. Like, just
Mhm.
like from people communicating about these things. There's has to be something there. I just think it's crazy how many things have manifested that were just, I don't know, theories at one point.
Yeah, and it's funny because the fact that you said that and how you get called a fan, I actually remarked on somebody's comment the other day about Britney, and then there was a lot of haters in there like, oh, you're just a Britney fan. I am totally not a Britney fan. I was into classic rock and stuff like that, but I've seen her from Disney all the way up until now, and just the crazy things that have happened to her. It's insane and inhumane what her father has done to her, but I don't know.
Not just
this
her,
shit is
like
really
the
happening.
whole Disney crew.
Yeah, this shit is
Yeah.
really happening.
That's the whole theory. That was the whole theory. That was the whole origin, and the origination for her so-called conspiracy theory. But then all of these people from these networks and all, like, strange behavior of these just like child stars, and just certain people, like, just going crazy. I mean, in the real world, do you really see as many people go crazy, like off the wall, as you do in Hollywood? Like, you don't, because they're probably like drugging them up at a young age and putting them through all this grueling mental and whatever abuse that they have to deal with from a young age.
And
They
sexual
literally
abuse, like
snap.
there's a total club that
Exactly.
goes there and preys on these child actors. And I'd like to say a word that I was not allowed to say on the last show that I used to do, Pizzagate. These things are actually happening, and people just want to deny because these people are so powerful, and people are getting funding from this, so on and so forth. Like, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that is happening, and there's a reason why a lot of these child actors and even adult actors are having a difficult time just living a regular life. It's insane.
And how can you defend someone that you don't know? Just as much as how can you accuse someone you don't know? You don't know these people. None of us know them. Some people know them, yes, but we don't. So how can we discredit what anyone says? And usually it's all based on what is in front of us. And what is in front of us is a bunch of crazy people that we don't typically see out in the wild, except for that crackhead on the corner behaving in the way that these people seem to. And it's not propaganda, because you see videos of them and stuff. Like, it's the Britney Spears and the Amanda Bynes ones. I mean, they went off the rails. You can't deny that wasn't a
Well, the
real
Corey
episode
Feldman,
right
Corey
there.
Haim thing, I'm trying to remember, was it Corey
Yes.
Haim that died because of
Haim.
alcohol and drug consumption? And then Corey
Haim.
Feldman that came out? Or was it Corey Haim? It was Haim that came out? And Corey Feldman was the one that died. They were besties.
Feldman came out. Haim is the one that died. And the craziest part about that situation is because the so-called conspiracy theorists put two and two together, and they said, oh, okay, well, if he's accusing someone popular, but he doesn't want to out him because he's kind of afraid because he's powerful, oh, it's Charlie Sheen. And then everyone's like, now you're just jumping to conclusions. You're jumping
Tiger
to
blood.
conclusions. And then he came out and said that was one of them. Charlie Sheen. The other one that he has yet to say his name, which is just a theory, but not so far off, is Spielberg.
Yeah, I think
Steven
that came out on a show. He wouldn't say it, but then I think it was the person that was doing the show was like, if I say a name and it's correct, will you tell me it is? And he agreed, and she said it, or he said it, and he said yeah. So it's like, I don't know,
I didn't see that one.
He has almost been killed like so many different times, being ran over by cars, so on and so forth. I've seen other people be knocked off pretty quickly as far as that goes, so he's pretty lucky, I guess, or maybe it's just because he's not saying certain things that they're leaving him be. I don't know.
I just judged by Steven Spielberg's daughter and her behavior and wanting to separate from Hollywood, from basically talking about all the crazy vultures and stuff that are through Hollywood. His own daughter, she was like, I don't want your money. I don't want anything. I'm going to go be a stripper because that's the only way I'm going to make money without my daddy, whatever. But I'm out. Like, I don't want to be an actress. I don't want a part of your little club. I don't want anything to do with you crazy people, basically.
Even Drew Barrymore went through that stuff for a while, and I think she might have gotten some counseling, or she just grew and she learned to adapt and overcome, and then she started her own show where people could come out and voice their opinions and things that happened to them as well. I don't know. She's come a long ways from when she was a kid. You could tell something not good happened to her, and she was in the party scene and doing all the drugs and alcohol and everything, and then finally snapped out of it. I don't know who helped her with that, but it's just a very crazy scene. Hierarchies.
She got reprogrammed.
Right? Jim, Robert, Jason?
Yeah, I'm here. I've just seen who's chatting on Spreaker.
Yeah, we got Mr. Lynn Dorman in. I've totally missed him. I know his wife had a birthday not too long ago, and I invested $10 out of my last 14 into her fundraiser. I haven't done that for anybody yet, but she had a good one going, and I really like her a lot, so I helped her out with that. I don't know. I was like, should I do it or not? And I'm like, the more you give, the more you get back. So, man, come on, taxes. Or something. Something's got to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood. I mean, I know Ronald Reagan wasn't very popular with a lot of people in the States. And he was just a B-movie actor. The reason for that was that he led the fight against the big studio companies where the actors and actresses were basically slaves. They went wherever the company told them. They would appear here, they would do that. And Reagan constantly fought against them, and eventually got it passed. Laws were passed where you couldn't basically keep people a slave. That was basically the outcome of it, and it's the reason why you only ever featured in what they call B movies. It's and if you look at Hollywood, you're getting the history of the human race according to Hollywood. And what's going to happen with the earthquakes, towering inferno, remember that one, the precursor of 9/11? Earthquakes, freezing, the earth freezes, all sorts of things. And then, of course, Independence Day, when the aliens arrive to blow us all up. And, you know, yeah. And the money that they rake in on these films is unbelievable. I think the biggest one out of the lot was Star Wars for as a money maker, and that was just pure science fiction fantasy. But when you go into the ones that they're making, like the Tower and Inferno, what was the other one? I forget the name. The Day After, where the Earth freezes over, and you know that one. The one that hit, Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, flattened it. There was the same sort of story on there about this giant tsunami wave and all this. And you wonder, how can anybody be so accurate in guessing that something like that is going to happen?
There's so many movies like that. It's like, how did they know? It's funny because when COVID broke out, I put Breakout on the Netflix, which was the one with who's the guy that played Rain Man?
Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman played in that.
Yeah.
And such a good movie. And my husband just looked at me and he's like, "You had to play that, didn't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did.
Yeah. You know, it's
Same. I watched it too, right about that time.
Really?
I had a broken leg, and I was like, of course, I'm just sitting there, like being bored, creeping on comments on YouTube for conspiracy videos and stuff, because that's just what I do. And so when one has time to do it, and I kept hearing about Breakout or something like that. It was probably in April or May of 2020, last year. And I watched it, and I'm like, whoa, this came out obviously when now? Like, I don't know. It was creepy though.
yeah, there was another
it was Outbreak?
Outbreak. Yeah, Outbreak. That's Jeff Goldblum was in that film as well, wasn't he?
I don't know. I don't think he was.
I
He was
remember
in some-
him and that main female character, and I don't think there was any more big names in there, really. Was there, besides those
yes,
two?
there was. There was Morgan Freeman and
Oh, yes.
and what's his name? The one that had the son that played in the Vampire Lost Boys. The father of him.
Oh, yes. I know who you're talking about. I see him now. Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I see his face.
The bad one that kept on.
Yeah, being a jerk.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
Yeah, that was a trip though. Like, you have to wonder if like it predicts it, or if it's already like written in stone, or maybe like, I don't know. It's just
Well,
crazy.
they were going to drop a fuel air weapon on, or a nuclear bomb on the town that was where this infection had taken place. You remember that? It's sent in the army recon vehicle.
Yep.
And it's it shows you what they would go to. They would do that. I'm pretty sure they would.
They would, yeah. Donald Sutherland.
Donald
Oh,
Sutherland.
yes, that's who it was.
And Kevin Spacey, Rene Russo, Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yes, Cuban. That's who I forgot.
Cuba.
That's what I meant.
Cuban.
I
he
know
got in a lot of
I know
trouble
he's
in
smoking,
the-
but yeah, he's not a Cuban.
No, I know he got in a lot of trouble for some stuff not too long ago. It's like, man, why you gotta pick on everybody? He was one of my faves, and then they just like totally destroy people for us.
He did something, but like
I can't remember what it was.
Slander.
I think he might have grabbed some girl's ass or something. I'm not sure. He was hitting on some bartender. I'm not sure what it was. I have to Google it, but yeah, pretty weird. Yes, cancel everything that offends you. Yeah.
I mean, okay, like that's bad, and I totally agree with that being wrong. But I mean, if somebody's drunk in a bar, some people do some stupid stuff sometimes.
I kissed a girl last week, and my friend's like, yeah,
There
you
you
know,
go.
you stuck your tongue down some girl's throat, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I just gave her a peck. Like, I gave her a kiss goodnight. You know, it started with her hating me because I was beating her at pool, and then we became good friends, and I gave her a kiss goodnight. Like, what's wrong with that? I kiss my friends. Some I haven't kissed yet that I want to, but yeah, Holly
I
Weird.
kissed a girl, and
I liked it. Taste of her cherry chapstick. But yeah, the world's gone mad, and we're all going to hell in a handbasket. So everybody just get used to it. Okay, so how about
It's
this
like Final
weather?
Destination.
This weather, you guys. Okay, so they're saying, yeah, you don't like the weather now? Just wait till next year, and the year after, and the year after, because global warming is real. And then there's other people that are like, no, ain't happening. And those are usually oil people who are, you know, making the money, the big wigs that have all the money, all the control. This isn't really happening, when in fact it is, because just look at us. We're melting. Even people in Canada are fucking melting. Look at the Canadians. You know, this is insane. This is unprecedented.
Meanwhile, in Queensland, Australia, I'm in a jacket.
Yeah, because it's
How
winter
often does that
time.
happen? Yeah, but even in winter,
Yeah.
it's rare to have something like this on. It's only, 17 degrees Celsius at the moment, according to the computer here.
Yeah.
Like it's meant to be about 25 to 30. I don't know. Definitely something going on with the weather.
It ain't good.
Well, the sunspot cycle is supposed to be starting to pick up, so you're going to get an awful lot of solar flares, and that's going to disrupt communications.
Yeah, we just got through those. With the Mercury retrograde, we had solar flares as well, and was it solar eclipse or was it lunar? I think it was solar. And then there was a lunar. Like so many different things, one after the other, but not just but so many different people had issues with their cell phone service, as well as internet service, TV, all at the same time. And that kind of went in fields, like this section, this section, this section.
How your bug rolls, the world's ending.
The world ends on Friday. Yeah.
Ooh.
So I have to ask: Are those things that you're wearing? The I know they are solid. I thought they looked like the tongs that you use for barbecues.
Oh, I bet I could. Like if it got down to it, I could probably glue or weld these to something. They'd work good as tongs. I could even use my fingers like with chopsticks and tong. That tong to tong tong tong.
You go ahead.
Go on, Mia.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was just thinking out loud, but with what happened in Florida, as well as just some other random things, these are thoughts that I would think, like, if I was going into an old building, I would be like, I wonder if this is just gonna collapse on me, or like those logs from Final Destination. I don't like to drive behind log haulers. I don't know what you call them, but trucks with logs on the back, because that actually does happen, and it just feels like we are kind of living in a Final Destination type atmosphere right now, or it feels like one because of the pandemic and just all this crazy stuff that's been going on, topsy-turvy world. So it's like, that's why I don't mind staying home sometimes. I'm like, I already hate flying. People are freaking out on planes and stuff, and I'm like, I don't like to fly as it is. I don't want to have to knock someone out for acting like a crazy person and then get hauled off and arrested because I punched someone in the face, because I already hate to fly. It feels like Final Destination is all I was saying. The chaos.
That's why I like to stay home.
Just avoid Flight 180.
I have to remember that in the future. If it's called 180, don't do it. Just don't do it. Well, on that note, you guys, we do have to go to our second musical break. On this break, we have Fireline Kiss Again, who is an online trucker. Thank God for those guys, because otherwise we'd be starving. Unless you're a hunter-gatherer, you're done for. And he's going to be singing Angel. Then we have Cockroach from the UK with We Play House. And then we have Fred Johnson III, who is my favorite, with After Dark. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
Angel. Angel.
My driver pulls up in my limousine, ready to take me anywhere I want to be. I said, I want to go. Take me to a college scene. I'd like to go and dance, have drinks, and hunt the perfect day. Yeah. Living at the door, I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, after dark, I gave her base because she had the range. I knew she was the one that never could go home again. Plastic lights by limo seats. I don't know why I can't control this urge to hurt again. Yeah. Living at the door, I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Chasing sinister, murder forever after. No matter what I say, after dark. Feeling ran to arguments and fear. In hiding place with days of December. Concerning works or meshed in romance. It doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't. No matter what I say, after dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, shades in stuff, murder forever after. It doesn't matter what I say. Brooding fatal, lacking the hint of conscience. No matter what I say, after dark.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Jim Morris of the UK. We're joined by Miss Mia Savage of Colorado. We're joined by Jason Davenport of Arizona, as well as Robert White from Australia. Welcome back, you guys, and thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So I had another point to touch on, and it's about the COVID vaccination. So in Houston, Texas, there was a mass firing, aka laying off and quitting of workers due to refusing the COVID vaccination. there were approximately 150 plus people that were fired, laid off, and quit due to trying to be forced to take this vaccination. Have you guys heard of that?
Not that specifically, but I feel
I've been
like
hearing about it. Yeah, cases. Go ahead, man.
I feel like a lot of places are not going to hire you without the vaccine, or they're not going to pick you out of other applicants who are vaccinated if you are not vaccinated. And that is why there are a lot of people hiring right now, and people say it's because of the, the pandemic assistance and employment and all that stuff. And that is definitely can be a factor, because it sucks that it's kind of sad that people are getting paid more, as we said, getting paid more on that than they are by their regular jobs. And so they're like, why are we doing this anyway? For some. But I also, I feel like a lot of places aren't going to hire you if you're not vaccinated, because they don't want someone who's not vaccinated working for you. And if that isn't happening now, it's what's coming.
Well, yeah, and if you're not, I've been into restaurants where some people are not wearing masks and then other people are. Sleepy, when you're doing the cars, can you mute it?
Oh, yeah, I'm done. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. I love the races.
That's the Phantom Skype doing that. like it's funny. I love to go to the store. It was connected the whole time. As soon as I pick up my iPad and say hello, it disconnected me.
That is so weird. And like I said earlier, I was just sitting here doing my Spreaker thing, getting the show ready and everything, and then I had the Skype open, and then all of a sudden it just clicked off. I don't know what's going on with those guys, but I'm pretty fed up with it.
I just did it again, and I muted it, and it came off.
Weird. Well, it's weird because, okay, so with this whole COVID thing, as far as being a nurse and stuff, there is a certain law where you don't have to get vaccinated. Like, this totally goes against a certain law. I cannot think of it right now for the life of me, but it's not the Hippocratic Oath. It's something else. I might have to look at my sister's notes, what she sent me.
It's not HIPAA?
No, HIPAA is the Hippocratic Oath where, you promise to take care of people and not harm them. So
well,
maybe
also your medical to not divulge your other people's medical information publicly as well.
Mm-hmm. Or turn them away when they need help. I don't know how many hospitals do that, but yeah, a lot of people got fired, laid off, or quit because they were trying to force them to take this COVID vaccination. And even the nursing staff was like, this is too experimental. We don't know what's going on with this vaccination. There has not been any scientific method going on with this. There's no way we are putting this in our bodies. And they're like, well, you're fired, or, you either quit or you're fired. And so a lot of people quit. Some people got fired. If you're smart, you got fired. If you quit, you're not going to get, yeah. If you quit, you're not going to get any sort of assistance until you find your next job, But as far as the medical field goes, there's got to be a lot of openings right now with everything that's going on.
Probably so. I find it so crazy that, okay, I read this article that basically, it was an interview with a man who claimed that a dewormer medication actually cured his cancer.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I'm not saying and he had like 3 months at best to live, and he had pancreatic and lung cancer. He had like multiple cancers, and he was like done for
exasperated
until some wackadoodle, probably a vet, because vets are wackadoodles, but they're pretty darn smart, some of them. So he read somewhere and took some type of a wormer. Now, I signed a petition about ivermectin, which is a wormer that they use for animals. You can get it at the feed store. You can just buy it. I have tons of it because I have animals that need it, right? Like my pigs and stuff. It's a dewormer, and you can use it on a bunch of different animals. And I signed a petition that a bunch of people had signed, basically supporting more scientific research on this, and that on COVID, and that it actually was working, and it got shut down, and not mentioned again. And it's just like, why? Like, I understand, but if you have a group of scientists who are saying that this works or it potentially works, wouldn't you want to explore that, or at least release publicly why it does not work, or why you haven't done more studies on it? It doesn't make sense that there are these other options. And I understand if it doesn't work, but why don't you tell the people why? Why isn't there articles? Why isn't there research data that we can read that will say why it isn't working or it doesn't work? And why would so many thousands of people be in support of this group of scientists that are saying that it works, or that it potentially works against COVID? I mean, it's a dewormer that kills all these different types of worms, and that.
Yeah.
Why?
What is that scraping noise? I'm just wondering what that scraping noise is. I don't know if you hear it.
It's me. I beg your pardon. I'm munching some fried rice.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, I had the same tonight. How funny. Well, Chinese.
Chili.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Mia.
Oh, I was just saying, I think it's funny now, after almost a year after signing that petition. Oh, and then I posted it on a Facebook group for animals that I was on, and that got shut down so quick by like spreading false information and all this stuff. How is it false information if there's this friggin' email that I got that's a giant petition with thousands upon thousands of people signing it to study ivermectin or approve ivermectin as a treatment, or prove why it doesn't work? Like, because you already had studies on it. These were scientists, but they're wanting to do more, and they're wanting to get it basically out there and researched further and possibly use it as a treatment. And it just got shut down, swept under the rug, only been mentioned a couple of times in the mainstream media, and then just forgotten about. It's like, I didn't forget about that. And then this guy says that it cured his 100% terminal cancer, that like 3 months at best to live, multiple types of cancer. He was supposed to die in 2017.
That's why it's called the medical practice. They're just practicing. They don't know everything.
Exactly. Crazy.
It's pretty irritating to me, because when you say something to someone, if they take it literally, that could really kill them. But a lot of people are like, hey, I'm not going to listen to it, and I'm just going to live my life as I may. And they can live at least 10 years or more, longer than the doctor says, and then finally they'll succumb to their stuff. But it's a practice. Like, how could you say for definite that somebody is or is not going to die due to this? Like, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I just found out another person involved in this case that was mentioned in this case, that Mark Redwine said he hopes they die. I hope you and your cancer-ridden BFF die. And guess what? This person has the same cancer the other person had. Like, how can that happen? It's so insane to me. But yeah, medical practice. I hate going to the doctors. I will wait till I'm almost dead before I go to the doctors, which I'm not saying is good. I'm just very hard-headed, but it's a medical practice, and I don't trust them for the most part. I had one good doctor in my life, and he retired on me. And then the next one I saw was batshit crazy and talking about her furry rabbit that she found and then got lost and whatever. Like, it was just a Yahoo sort of thing, and she gave me some nasal spray that causes cancer and other things, and I took it once, then I read up on it, and I'm like, I am not taking this again. Can I see somebody else next time? I did not like her at all, and I miss my old doctor, but it's so hard to find somebody that's actually treating you as a person and not a number, and actually looking into what is going on with you instead of, just throwing medication at you. So hard.
That may cause vomiting, upset stomach, rash.
Well, just like with
unclear
morning
thoughts,
sickness.
and
So
death.
I don't know if I told you, Mia, but the last Friday that I worked there and you and I hung out, I got home and found out I'm going to be a grandma. I'm not ready to be grandma, but yay!
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's super cool, and I heard it's the best job ever, but I'm still like coming to terms with it and not ready, but I'll be okay with it once it gets here. But they
I'll
prescribe.
help babysit as long as they're like at least 2, like, because that's when they get fun.
Okay,
And
so that'll be like 2.5
I wouldn't
years.
trust me with an infant. Yeah.
About
I don't
2.5,
want that
almost 3 years.
responsibility. Yeah.
I'll teach you proper posture as far as holding
I'll put
babies. It's okay. It's
There
pretty
we go.
simple.
I'll put it in writing.
I will teach you, my
In
friend.
2 years' time. Yeah.
But they're like, don't smoke weed, and like, I didn't smoke a lot of weed. I'd take a puff here, a puff there, whatever would settle my stomach. I am not a hardcore pot smoker, but I can load a bowl, and this bowl is super tiny, and this thing will last me a day and a half because I don't smoke a lot of weed, but it really did help with my nausea. They give these girls this medication that causes heart malformations, lung malformations, liver, kidneys, everything. It's like, seriously? And this doesn't do any of that. Like the placenta, everything filters
It's like,
this
how
out.
bad does it hurt? How bad does it hurt? Are you willing to risk death to get
Instead
rid
of
whatever
having
this
these
is?
herbs, you need to take this pharmaceutical medicine to help you with your morning sickness. Yeah, pharmaceutical company. I'm pretty sure you believe that, and the doctors that are in bed with you do too, but I don't. It's so insane. I remember waking up, I had a severe kidney and bladder infection when I was pregnant with my oldest, who is now going to make me a grandmother. And I woke up to this horrific commercial talking about this medicine. I believe it starts with a Z. And it was talking about this lawsuit about heart malformations and such due to taking it. And they're trying to give it to me, and I'm like, I am not taking any more of this. Lynn said, does that mean that we are all start calling you Granny or Grandma Tess? You better not. If you value your life, you should not call me that. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. It's a blessing.
What about Nana Tess?
That's what my
Does that work?
stepmom used to say. Don't call me Grandma, call me Nana. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
That's lame. So I don't know.
I called my nanny, and I didn't realize that was kind of rude. Because, I mean, if you think about it, she's not your nanny, but she is cleaning up after your ass, like, when you go over there and you're a kid. So, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trying not to sneeze. These freaking allergies, I don't know if you're dealing with it. I know you have been, but holy shnikes.
You know, they're not bad today, but they've been bad the last 2 days. But I've been inside.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Oh, I was sneezing earlier. I take that back. I had like a sneeze attack just a little bit ago when I went down to the barn, which is I haven't had bad allergies because I've been inside most of the day. That's why. But when I went down to the barn, I had a super sneeze attack, and then my chicken jumped on my back.
So I was watching this video. I generally listen to YouTube until I get done with all my putting the legs on the show sort of thing, and then I'll watch videos. But Mr. Ballin was telling a story today about this plane that went down, and you know who went down on it. And I'm like, okay, how could I know who went down on this plane? So there was this military guy, and he flew home on a aircraft carrier, because if you wear a uniform, you can fly for free. So he flew home to his mother and girlfriend and stuff. Instead of being sent out during, I think it was World War II, he actually got to be a lifeguard at some post that was a military post where military families live. But he flew home, and then he was trying to fly back. And when he got to the airport, the only plane that was there was a single person aircraft. But there was this little ball or something on the bottom. So he's like, hey, would you let me ride in this ball on the way back home, because I don't have enough money to take the civilian flight, but if I can ride with you, that'd be cool. And he's like, oh, no, no, no. You don't want to ride in there. Like, barely anybody can fit in there, and it's very dangerous, and if we get to a certain point in elevation, you can't breathe. And he ended up, convincing him, saying, hey, I'm a military person, you're a military person, you know how it goes. If I don't get back in time, I'm going to be MIA, I'm going to get in trouble, could you please just fly me home? And so he agreed to it, and he pumped this little, I want to call it crevasse, but it was kind of like a bubble, full of oxygen. He allowed this guy to ride in it, and they're flying. All of a sudden, this guy's radio starts to malfunction, and then his oxygen starts to go out. Before this guy in this little bubble down below, the little door opens, and so all the oxygen that has been pumped in there is escaping, so he ends up passing out. The guy up above notices his oxygen starts going down too, which is not involved with the bubble down below. This is totally separate situations, but he decides to go down to a lower elevation. At the same time, he realizes he doesn't even have enough gas to get across the Pacific to get to this place where they're supposed to go. So he knows, due to the radio malfunctioning, he can't land at any airports. He has to crash into the Pacific Ocean. And so they crash land. This guy that's in the bubble has to wait till the bubble fills up before he can get out, because just the pressure of water against air and such, he has to wait till the water comes in before he can go anywhere. And then he is so foggy he can't even see like 10 inches in front of him, and at first he sees his buddy who was the pilot, and then after a while they kind of drift apart due to currents and such. And then he swims to an island and crawls while puking up all the seawater and stuff that he's ingested because it was very choppy, wavy water. He made it to this facility, and they were able to help him, and then I guess the other guy made it too, but turns out this guy's name was not Samson, which he had been called through the whole story. His name was motherfucking Clint Eastwood. I'm like, Chuck Norris ain't got nothing on Clint Eastwood. I don't know. That was a pretty cool story, and I never even knew it. But yeah, he crash landed in the Pacific and lived through it, and swam over 2 miles to this island. Pretty hardcore.
2 miles?
Over,
I can't
yeah.
walk 2 miles, let alone swim.
Yeah, and like really choppy, wavy water. It was insane.
I never heard of an aircraft like that. Whatever it was.
Yeah, it was a dive bomber.
Yeah.
And I'll send you the video. It's Mr. Ballin did it, and he is very accurate with his stories. The 411 guy was really against him because he kept sharing the 411 stories, and he'd show the book and advertise for him. And he was really pissed off at him at first, but then he was okay with it because he's like, hey, I'm just trying to get your story out there and blah, blah, blah. So now they're working together, but he's originally a Navy SEAL, Mr. Ballin. But yeah, this story was called, let's see what it says. I have to go widescreen. Someone you know was on this plane. Oh, I found the share button, then it turned. Okay, so is there anything else like within the world of the paranormal, conspiracy, UFO, UAPs? What are the submerged ones? SMOs? SUOs?
It's how come they can make so many vaccines in 5 months, right? Yet they can't come up for a cure for motor neuron disease or multiple sclerosis or cystic fibrosis or even cancer. They can't come up with anything at all.
They have it, they just won't share it.
Yeah, because that's what they're making their money out of. They really couldn't care less about the population in general. You're just things there, you work for them, and that's the way it comes down, the way I see it. And, if I could go back in time if I had the spare cash before this happened, I would start putting my money into pharmaceuticals, PPE. Well, Bill Gates did anyway, didn't he?
Right?
He can't even come up with, he can't even come up with an antivirus for his own operating system. He's got to get somebody else to do all the things for him.
John McAfee.
Yeah, maybe he's gone now, so
Yeah.
no, it's if you look at it, it doesn't make sense. If they're really so keen on our health and protecting us, how come they can't come up with any cures for the diseases that I mentioned? But they can come up with umpteen, and there's more vaccines coming online all the time. How do we know that they're going to work? We don't. They're using the population as lab rats. And you mentioned a thing there at Boris Johnson in Westminster. He tried to enforce people that work in care homes to be vaccinated, and this caused an uproar. People said, no, we're not going to do that. We wouldn't be intimidated into it. And if you tried that, then the whole healthcare and care homes, certainly in England, would collapse. I don't know about nursing staff, but that's the sort of thing that they're pushing. Somebody posted that, conspiracy theorists are somebody that's figured out who the real liars are, That's what we get all the time. That's why I never listen to the BBC, because they're never going to tell you anything other than,
Well, I do, because they give us more information than the U.S. is. Like, there's a tad more information there, but it's still disarrayed. I think so many of these different publications and radio stations and such are owned by the same proprietary person or peoples.
Yeah,
It's all the same agenda.
Yeah. It's orchestrated. Go ahead, Mia.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's just kind of ironic throughout this whole process that during a complete and total lockdown, all of a sudden, now we have all of these new technologies coming out, like all of this new technology and
5G, baby.
just progressive stuff that's going on. Like driverless pizza delivery trucks and stuff like that.
The
Like
robot ones.
That's just on the basic scale. But we got all this other kind of random like AI technology crap coming out. Okay, shouldn't everything have been locked down for the last year, and all of a sudden it's just like popping up even during the pandemic? It doesn't even make sense to me. Like, when
They're
did
probably
you guys
trying to gather information.
when did y'all have time to create all this? It's like a total reorganization involving like AI and control and ultimately some kind of new world order type of agenda.
I don't know, when Siri asked me if I summoned her, like, for real, I didn't want to talk to that bitch. Like, no, I did not. Go away. I did not summon you.
I don't summon crap. You got the wrong address.
You got the wrong bitch here. Not gonna do it. Okay, so, Jason, if you're still there, earlier you mentioned Bohemian Grove, and I never heard of it until George Bush Jr. was in office, and it was right after 9/11. And then on Durango TV here locally, they actually showed where somebody snuck a camera into one of these sessions and recorded it and was able to actually get this footage out. And it really blew my mind. I was like, this shit actually still exists? It was insane to me. It's kind of like the Skull and Crossbones, but ooh, they even had like this huge statue, and they have this area where the hierarchies and whoever's doing the ceremony would be, and are they actually sacrificing real babies, or are these baby dolls and fake blood? Like, what the hell is going on here? It's hard to tell from the distance that you see this video, but this stuff is really out there, and it's really, to me, disheartening and scary. Like, it really freaks me out. Have you seen that, Mia or Jim or Jason or Robert?
Oh yeah.
No, I
Yes,
haven't seen
and
that.
yes, we have what's his name, Alex Jones, who snuck in with the camera and recorded a lot of it. But besides that, and then there was another clip of, I think it was Alex Jones as well, talking to a politician of some kind about the Grove, and the politician guy literally freaking out, and he's like, "No, we can't talk about that. You know I can't talk about that. I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that." And he's asking questions. And then there's these young boys who supposedly work there. I mean, not underage, but like young enough that were working there as staff, waiters and stuff. And they were just talking about the inappropriate things that happened among all of the males and the young male staff members and all this other stuff that went down.
Yeah, they're like, "I'll give you a tip."
About it. Right? Well, no, and that it's some kind of a weird, like, like Eyes Wide Shut type scenario as well there. But yeah, I've always wanted to go there, like, I've always wanted to go there and just sneak there somehow, like camp somewhere like around the site, but not too close. And then like go and watch. But supposedly it's pretty hard to get in, even that part of the
virtually
forest,
impossible.
so.
Luckily, this guy was able to sneak his way in. Perhaps he portrayed himself as a member or whatnot, and he had a camera hidden well enough where he can get this footage. But it was insane. And George W. Jr. was definitely there. I saw him with my very own eyes during this freaking ceremony. And look at the whole 9/11, the war, all this shit that happened during his time. I don't know. Guess what? Everybody thinks I'm a liberal, and I'm not. I just want you guys to know that, because that's a rumor.
Well, and
get back into certain groups, and you got rumors going.
There. They probably all went into. They probably all went into like the Bohemian Grove like a year prior to COVID, and then they all were like, "I got a good idea." All these garbage people. Let's just go bonkers. We're all getting old. Let's create a pandemic and just try to make as much money as possible. It'll be for the benefit of everyone here.
Seriously, it's crazy. I'm trying to call Jason back. Hopefully he answers. Man, Skype, I just have to tell you, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just leave it be. Oh my gosh. Did I lose Skype again? I think I might have, because I don't hear anybody. I think I did once again. Thank you, Skype. I'm so glad I pay so much every 3 months to have this frickin' ignorant ass app. If it weren't for Spreaker, I'd be using another app where I could actually do video and all kinds of other things, but here we are. Oh my gosh. So Skype is rebooting. Let's see if we can get everyone in. Apologies to our listeners. Mercury retrograde is over as far as I know, but for some reason Skype just did an update and now we're having all kinds of issues. So I'm not saying this is paratechnical, but pretty sure this is Skype oriented BS-ery. But what about you guys? Like in the chat room, if you're there in Spreaker, let us know. Have you seen or been involved with any of this stuff? This is insane. There's so many crazy things happening in the world around us. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, very strange. Riddled with occult groups anyway. Came to the fore in the 1930s. They started off an awful lot of these things all appeared mysteriously. And the object of it is, like all of these things, it's you've got to give so much of your income to support the organisation or the church or whatever it is. But I'd heard of Bohemian Grove, but never knew exactly what it was about. But an awful lot of actors are involved in it, from what little I heard.
From what I've seen, it's kind of
Can't
like
remember his name,
witchcraft, but
prominent
instead of it being women, it's men. It's pretty weird.
Was in it. So, yeah, you wonder why. You know,
I think the group you're talking about is
do they
the
do for
Odd
a
Fellows. The Odd Fellows?
Is that the only job they've got? Is that the only thing that they do?
Well, it's interesting because it's all of the theories are basically all of these so-called Illuminati or families of power, like the powerful leaders of the world that go to Bohemian Grove and they wear masks and do these crazy, whether they're symbolic or actual rituals, but supposedly it's all symbolic. But the way that one interview with it's just Alex Jones talking to, I think it may not have even been Alex Jones, I think it was though, talking to this politician, I can't remember who it was, and just his reaction to it was just ridden with guilt and secrecy and sketch. Like, my spidey senses were just like, that is the sketchiest reaction that I've ever seen regarding the Grove. Just questions about what goes on at the Grove, and it was just insane. Like, his reaction was telltale sign of some sketchy stuff. That's what happens.
Yeah.
At the Grove.
I think a lot of that goes on over in Britain as well, especially in the Parliament, you know, down in Westminster. They've got all sorts of little secret covens all over the place.
Yeah, and it's funny because this one is not females, and people generally think of witches as females, but I think these are warlocks and whatever else they want to call themselves. These are all males. Females are not allowed. And I think the group you were talking about earlier, then Skype cut me off, and then I had to get back in. Then my mic and my camera were both turned off. It's called the Odd Fellows, and they actually tried to help people that were in a lowerly situation because, hey, you can take advantage of these people.
Yeah,
I think Odd Fellows was the old one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Masonic organisation. Same as the Rotary Club, that's another one. They're same thing, but just change the name. So we're out to help people, but they only help each other. That's all they do. They wouldn't help you or me. Now, I'd heard of Bohemian Grove, but it's like the what's it called? The Bilderberg group. Where all the European heads of state are in that, and prime ministers and so on, and they have a meeting. And it's the British taxpayer pays for this. But you can't bring it up in the House of Commons. You know, where is this money going? What is it being spent on? Who are these people? You can't bring that up in the House of Commons. So that shows you just how rotten it is when even the MPs that are there to represent the people can't get a straight answer out of them. And there's these people they're going to be staying at the British taxpayers' expense in luxury hotels. You know, 10-star hotels and whatever, and we're paying for it, but we don't know what it is that they're doing, and it's obvious what they're doing. That started after the war. What's his name? Prince Bernhard in the Netherlands. He was one.
Yes, wasn't that Prince Charles? Didn't not Prince Charles? What was Queen Elizabeth's husband's name? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember it.
Prince
Philip. Wasn't he part of that family?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, that's what I thought. He had that last name, and it was totally like something that they didn't like at first, and they were totally against it. But Queen Elizabeth was like, "No, I'm going to marry this guy." But he did have that name, and he had to change it, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was bad for them.
Yeah. Mountbatten, his name was German Battenberg. And it's because of the First World War they decided to change it. But on the his marriage certificate, his name, you know, Philip, whatever it is, they called him the Greek beach bum. It was no fixed abode. That was his address, no fixed abode, and he's going to be marrying the future queen, like, you know. So everybody said, where does this guy come from? But he's gone now anyway, and I'm certainly no sorry to see him go anyway.
Yeah, he just passed away this last year, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Queen Elizabeth is going to live forever.
I was just going to say it. She's here to stay.
Well, I'd sooner have her than that idiot son, Prince Charles. He's a complete buffoon.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe as he gets older he'll be better, but
nah.
So as far as the Oddfellows go, Lynn was saying the Oddfellows are usually a good group of guys. And then he said, I consider myself a weird fellow, textbook narcissist, don't work well with others. But yeah, like there's so many weird things that go on with these organizations. Yes, up front seems like a really good group, but behind the scenes there's a lot of different stories that I've heard through the paranormal groups as far as the Oddfellows are concerned. So, you know, you may have trust for a group, but then look at the background or the back scenes if you can find it. It's hard to trust anybody anymore, really.
Well, and then there's all these branch offs of these groups, right? And so one group may be completely normal, like a small, let's say like a Masonic lodge or something. And you know, they swear by it. Their grandfathers and great-grandfathers were all Masons and this and this and that. And it may be good in that area, in that group, in that Masonic lodge. But the larger picture of these groups and their origins and in other countries and stuff like that, there may still be things that you don't know. Anything that's built upon secrecy, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it, period. Meaning it's not all... It may not all be completely moral, some of the things. And, you know, like I know someone who's a Mason, for instance, and like he got a DUI in another state. I mean, he went to court and basically flashed the Masonic sign to the judge, and the judge was like, "Oh, you're one of us," and let him go. No charges whatsoever on a driving while intoxicated or under the influence.
Let him go. There's no DUI anymore.
Just like nothing. Just like knew who he was, knew his organization, and that was that. So that's not necessarily evil, but it's kind of unfair
It's
for the rest of the world.
Quasi-evil.
Questionable. It's questionable. It's morally questionable. And that's like on the most lightest,
that's like the whole world today.
Scale. True. It's all about who you know and basically like what your connections are, what your title is, this and this and that. It's so stupid.
So I believe in forgiveness and letting bygones be bygones. So, you know, people that I unfriended years and years and years ago, I've refriended, let it go. You know, don't hold that grudge. Forgiveness for me, not you, you know, so I don't have that poison in my system. I'm letting it go. Gonna be your friend again. Seemed like we're getting along. And then she called me a libertarian. Seriously. Do you guys think I'm libertarian? Just because I hate Donald Trump doesn't mean I'm a libtard. Like, I don't get it. I started to feel self-conscious. I'm like, I'm not libertarian. Like, who said that? Who said that? And she's like, is this certain person? I'm like, makes a lot of sense. That's why I unfriended her a long time ago. It's just drama, drama, drama. No matter what you do, you can even buy this girl drinks and she's still going to talk shit about you because she just has to have drama in her life. And I'm like, what about me makes you think I'm a libertarian? Because I am not. I refuse to be any part of the political system, yes, I'll vote on people that I believe in and people that are saying they'll do things that I believe in. Otherwise, like, once you get into office, it's hard to do certain things. I understand that because there's puppet masters behind the scenes. But, Jason, are you back?
Yes.
Okay, so I was wanting you back because we were talking about the Bohemian Grove. I was just wondering if you could fill us in really quick. We have T-minus 7 minutes and counting.
Well, Alex Jones went in there in 2000, but I'm not going to get into a whole dissertation about what I think, how he got in there, but he filmed a cremation of care, which Mae Brussel reported on, and they burn a human in effigy, and they cast their cares to the wind, and that's basically, it's all the worldly cares they're casting to this Moloch god. And it's quite the opposite of what you're supposed to do, with Christ, cast all your cares on him. They're doing it the opposite way, the occultic way. So they go into this whole ritual. And the guy that you can look it on the internet, but that thing was started as, I think, an artist or a writer's retreat in the 1800s. And then it was bought by, of course, the private firms and the private bankers, and then turned into what it is today, private club for these types of people. So it's where the elite goes, where a lot of things happen. Richard Nixon said, and this is what he said. He said it was the most faggoty place he had ever been. Nothing but a bunch of fags there. So that should tell you, that was on the Nixon tapes. So.
Did you see the Bohemian Grove thing with George Bush Jr.?
Oh yeah.
I saw that. Somebody snuck a camera in and got all that footage.
Yeah, the hillbilly camp is what they call it. He's in the hillbilly camp. And that's what they really call it. And there's a sign that says the hillbilly camp. And they have all sorts
nobody
of
wants to go
signs.
there.
They have all sorts of occultic and New Age signs on the trees and stuff as you walk throughout. They have hidden sensors in the trees, and Alex is going through all of it. Over half the documentary, Dark Seekers Inside Bohemian Grove, is him in a stupid hotel room planning it out. So it was shot really on VHS tape. I mean, Alex was really, it wasn't until the 2004 documentary that came out about, the election where somebody put huge money behind him, and it was like a real production. His documentaries until then, they were shot on straight VHS, dubbed and copied on regular, deck machines like that from the old days. I have a lot of his early stuff, so I know we got to get going.
Which one?
Yeah, we are at the end of our time, but go ahead and tell Mia which one you're talking about.
Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove.
No. Which one? Do you remember the clip where Alex is talking to that politician and questioning him about Bohemian? Who was the politician? I can't remember.
John Kerry and
seriously,
no, it was a different guy. It was a different guy questioning John Kerry, and he also questioned George Bush.
I was about to say, no wonder he got shot.
Can't talk about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, on that note, you guys.
Okay. Yeah.
I hate to interrupt because I want to go longer, but we only have 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Okay, so we'll start with Jason. Would you like to tell people where to find you, what you're up to, your whole race car thing going on? It's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's just Diecast in Racing on YouTube and Diecast in Racers on Facebook, I think it is. Yeah, because I have so many Diecast in Racing things. Diecast in Racing at Gmail if people want to. I have a tournament going on. Modify your own Hot Wheels or Matchbox or any diecast. It has to have plastic wheels in order for it to race on the track.
I know, I just bought one and it's got rubber ones and it's so hot. Like, I wish I could race it.
But, redlinederby.com. It's called Pace the Pacer Race. All the info's there.
Nice. Mia? Where can listeners find you?
On Instagram, MEA, spelled Mia, MEA, and then Savage, or Antidote for Savages is my music, which is on basically all platforms that I can think of.
Me and my kids love your music. Like, when we were doing homeschool, I'm like, listen to what my friend did. And the kids, they were just bobbing their heads, and they were loving it. Okay, Jim, where can our listeners find you and look up what you're doing in the UFO community?
UFO case analysis, all one word, lowercase. UFOcaseanalysis.uk. And on Facebook, it's the UFO Enigma. That's a forum or topic or group that's in there. That's where I do a lot of posting on there. So that's it. I'm not on Instagram or Twitter or anything else. That's just the story.
Yes, it takes a lot. What about you, Robert?
Yep.
No, Robert? I think we lost him when we got cut off this last time. Well, I want to thank you guys again for being on the show tonight and sharing your inputs on all these different things that are going on in our world today.
Yep.
And I'd also like to thank all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Periscope, iHeartRadio, and whoever else beyond the Omniverse you're listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night when we have Cornerstone Supernatural with Miss Janine McCaw, and we also have Mr. Paul Bush, spelled B-U-S-C-H, not the regular sort of Bush. You guys don't forget, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better, and together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. I'd also like to thank our sponsors tonight, because we could not do it without you. We have Mr. Jim Morris, Mr. Kevin McDougall, Mr. Del Elson, and Miss Mia Savage. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for helping me out throughout this whole trial, like what I'm doing here on air. I really could not do it without you. If you guys would like to join us on the Skype after party, look me up at tessa.n.thomas30@gmail.com or give us a jingle jangle at 970-335-9596. And make sure you check us out during the weekdays. We got Mr. Jason Davenport doing his weekday show. Occasionally here and there. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, because if you don't, you won't get these notifications that we're on the air. Until next time, night and night, live and light. Have a wonderful rest